Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Jessica Rich. For those of you who are new here or stopping by, I am a self-wellness coach. And on this channel, we talk about all things self-love, self-care, self-development, self-worth, anything that's going to help you become a better version of yourself. And so today I want to kind of talk about starting over at the age of 39. Most people feel like by the age of 30, you're supposed to have it all figured out. You're supposed to have it all together. But reality is that's not the case. And so it's almost like a fairy tale that we've been told when we think about the Disney movies or growing up and what we've seen on the TV shows and just how life appeared to be perfect. And so by a certain age, you think that you're supposed to have it all together. You'll be married, you'll have children, you have the perfect job, you have the White House with the house with the picket fence. And reality is it does not always work out that way. And so some of us even have to start over. And that is exactly what I had to do. After being in corporate America for 18 years, I was leading leaders. I made a good salary. I had a job that allowed me to really, really enjoy life and um, also allowed me to travel at one point across the country, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But, it also created situations where I experienced burnout. I didn't have the energy to do things that I enjoyed. It really consumed a lot of my time. And me leaving corporate America really, really helped me understand why it's okay to make a pivot, why it's okay to start over, but most importantly, to give yourself grace. And so, for anyone that feels like it's too late, I just want to talk about why it's not. Culture and society has put it in our mind that, again, by a certain age, you're supposed to have things together. I remember at the age of 35, or right before I turned 35, I froze my eggs. And that was received very, very well by a lot of people. But by some people, it was not. I remember someone saying to me, are you playing God? And I wouldn't say that hurt my feelings, but it also showed me how people, don't respect your decisions for what you do with your body. But then also not understanding that, I do desire to have children, I desire to start a family. And if that happens to happen later in life, I wanted to be able to preserve my fertility. And that was important to me. And so somebody may say it's too late for you to have children at 39 in your 40s. Well, that's not your decision. And so, whatever you do in life, I think that you have a say in how that plays out. I definitely am a woman of faith. And so, I do pray and I seek guidance on a lot of things, but sometimes we allow other noise to come into our head and encourage us and influence us. And it's really not always in the best interest. A lot of times people will project fear on us. I know that just thinking about working in the corporate space, a lot of people really, really believed in me. And I am grateful. I feel like I was beyond blessed by the community, the support that I had, not only from mentors, but from just the relationships that I built working in a corporate space. And so many people wanted to see me, climb the chain of the ladder and continue to go and be promoted. I know some people who wanted me to be an executive. I know some people who I inspired by my journey and my discipline and my focus, that when I shared with them my desire to leave corporate America, it was almost like they were so attached to that version of me that they could not see me doing anything else. Not only that, they were so attached to that version of me that it was almost like, who do I look up to now, if that makes sense? And so I think it's so important that we just remember, ultimately, we have to be happy with our lives, right? You have to be able to define what success and happiness looks like for you and not allow everyone else to have a say in what that is, what that looks like. Now allowing people to project their fears. And you know what? There's certain ages that maybe we just don't realize that. And so for me, it was 38 going into 39. For someone else, you may be in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, you may be in your 70s. And so do not think it's ever too late to start over, to try something new, to find a new passion, to discover your purpose. I love to see on social media when people talk about starting new careers. I've talked about this on this channel before. It's never too late. I feel like we could get conditioned to do certain things or to get complacent. And so we have this fear of moving forward or trying something different, stepping outside of our comfort zone. But ultimately, we have to be happy. And so I really want to encourage you that it's not too late. You may want to have a strategy depending on your responsibilities. Maybe you have children, you're married, your responsibilities as far as like, do you have a home, your rent, and maybe you just can't make that leap right away, but have a plan in place and seek support. There's so many resources that can support you in this process to truly put yourself first and prioritize you. And so I feel like I improved that it's not too late, because for someone they may say like, why are you making this pivot after 18 years? That's a long time. You're walking away from a pension, 401k, all of these great benefits. And you know what? That's all good and that's fine. But this has showed me that I really probably put emphasis and value on a lot of things that was just not necessarily important. Salary, benefits, being so attached to the pension, in reality where I can find happiness in a more simple way in life. And so I'm able to do that. And so want to encourage someone, like, it's okay. All right. So what does starting over really mean? And it's not throwing everything away, right? It may not be a completely clean slate. For some, it may absolutely be that. But it's truly carrying forward like the skills, your wisdom, all the lessons and experience that you've had in life, and to find an opportunity to apply that somewhere else. For me, I couldn't have prayed for a better opportunity. Here I am working in the insurance industry for 18 years. Like, this was my job, my junior year in college, and I just never left. And I became a leader. I was really, really focused on people development. I love it, love coaching my peers. I love coaching up. I love coaching direct reports. I love coaching their people. Like, I was always about the people. And so here I am now. I'm a professor. And so I get the opportunity to lead, to coach, to pour into others, to help them with their career path, help them with development. All of those things that I was doing in the corporate space, I get to now do as a professor. And so I'm carrying forward those skills that I built in corporate America, that I built in my business, right? Jessica Rich Coaching. I'm able to move all of those skill sets forward and now bring it towards the next generation of professionals, whatever they decide to pursue. But like, I get to bring all of that forward and still make an impact. And that was one thing that maybe really kept me attached to the role, because I love that part of it so much, but I still get to do that. And I get to do it in my business. And so maybe it's shifting your mindset that you have to have a 9 to 5, you have to be attached to someone else's business. And maybe you are in a place where you can position yourself to be a business owner. And so that's something to consider. But it's not always just a clean slate and walking away from everything. That pivot or transition or starting over per se may not be a complete start over. So really keeping that in mind as well. What are those other opportunities? What are those other transferable skills that you have that you can pivot into something else that still fulfills you, that you find purpose and passion and makes you feel good? Also, really thinking about redefining success. And so I've talked about this before, but my experience in Bali in 2023 really, really helped me understand what success and happiness looks like for me. I think Bali is an absolutely beautiful place. I have never felt more calm and relaxed in my life. And so I'm super excited that next year we'll be going there in June, because I want other women to feel that, experience that. For me, that was that pivotal moment where I felt like, wow, like I can just live such a simple, peaceful, relaxed life. The hustle and bustle that we experience in the States, it does not have to be a way of life. And so for me, that I think was the starting point that just slowly continued to follow me and make me realize like there's so much more to life than what I'm experiencing. Again, my job offered me an opportunity to do a lot of things that I'm beyond blessed that it provided me, but in reality, like, it just didn't fill me up to provide me with that joy, the peace, the relaxation, just what I feel right now when I think about my life, like it could never give me that. And so, also a part of this is sometimes we seek external validation. It could be the title. I know so many people who, climb the corporate ladder because they want that title. With title comes a lot of responsibilities. It comes with so many other things that's more than just a title. Also, money, right? You could be chasing the money. And although there are many benefits to money, it doesn't give you that peace and joy. It does not. Me walking away from my salary, I'm telling you now, it does not. And for me, I'm beyond blessed because I haven't missed a beat. And that is the thing that I'm so grateful for, that although I didn't have it all figured out, although I didn't have like the 3 years of savings of your salary saved up, I do feel like I was prepared without actually preparing based on things that I had done. But do not let the money cause you to stay where you don't want to be, where you're unhappy, where you're stressed, when it's not good to your mental, physical, emotional, spiritual well-being. you know that also can be an issue. And so that external validation from the titles, getting the accolades, the praise, having that position, the money, whether it's for you to feel like you're able to do certain things or to show people, you have money and you're making this money, or being certain crowds, like do not let that drive you. Also, the external validation of getting and receiving accolades from everyone else, and the recognition, is that what's truly important to you, or is that something that you think is supposed to be important? Really think about your internal alignment, your peace, your purpose, and the impact that you want to make. I always say that for me, I just want to leave a legacy wherever I go. And so, what does that look like? And when you think about choosing yourself, you really have to reshape your mind, you have to reshape your life, and you really have to reshape what the perspective of what success and happiness looks like for you. So I just want to kind of end this video with saying that you don't need permission to make a pivot. You don't need permission to be happy, to understand what success looks like for you, because success for you may be completely different from the person next to you, from your siblings, from your parents, from it could be even your spouse or your partner. And so don't allow society to pressure you to kind of put the title and label on what you should be doing at this moment in your life. I feel like it's never too late to start over. I feel like it's never too late to find what makes you happy, those hobbies, that passion, that purpose, what makes you smile. Do you even know what makes you smile, right? Beyond the physical things, like the feeling, for me, waking up, just having this routine that really, really brings me joy. I can't even describe it. And so we all deserve that. And so know that you don't need permission from anyone to make that pivot, to experience that peace, to experience that joy, or to find it, right? You may need to discover what that looks like and how you get there. And so ask yourself, if you weren't worried about it being too late, what would you go after right now? What would you pursue? What would you do? What career would you start? What career would you explore? What opportunity would you explore? Where would you travel? Where would you go? So many different things. But ask yourself, if you didn't think it was too late, what would you do? And maybe journal, create a audio recording note of like your first thoughts that come to mind. But it's so important for you to be able to actually verbalize that, and or write it out and say like what would you do. And so you can create that as a goal, for maybe you can explore it over the next 6 months, over the next 12 months, but you owe it to yourself to really, really figure out what makes you happy and what's going to bring you joy in life, because tomorrow's not promised. And so if you knew like your last day, is this what you want to be doing? Is it? We just never know when our time will come. And it is so important that we live life to the fullest. We enjoy life to the fullest. It shouldn't be just get up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, go to work. That shouldn't be our routine. Tomorrow's not promised. And from a woman who is starting over at the age of 39, I just want you to know that at any age, you can be brave, you can be courageous, and you can make the best decision of your life by choosing you, knowing what makes you happy, what brings you joy, and not letting society or anyone else tell you that you need to stay put and just ride it out. You make the decision that you can do something else. You're worth more than what you may be experiencing. You're worth more than what you're currently, your situation. Like, don't settle. Settling isn't just for relationships, it's about everything. And so, you are so much worth more than that. I encourage you to choose yourself. If you enjoyed this video, if you were inspired, share this with someone else. I think for me in this season of life, the most important thing for me is to encourage, inspire, and motivate others to know that you don't have to settle. You don't have to be complacent. You don't have to allow other people to make you stay in a situation where you're miserable, you're stressed out, and it is truly affecting your overall well being. And so please share the word and share this message with someone else who may benefit from it. I am so excited that I got to spend some time with you today. I can't wait to see you on the next video. Thank you for always supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.